नमो वासुदेवाय नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नर चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयं मुदीरये नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवती नैष्टिकी कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकीनन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, welcome for the Bhagavatam reading class. So yesterday we had completed chapter number 3 and we are on to chapter number 4. प्रवच्च चेममे वार्थ यन्मा पृच्छत्त सत्तमा कृष्णानुभाव श्रवणे श्रद्धानो महामना संस्था विज्ञाय सन्न्यस्य कर्म त्रैवर्गिक च यतः वासुदेव भगवती आत्मभाव दृढ़गतः. Sushil Prabhu, please read the translation and purport both.
Hare Krishna. Translation. O great sages, the great soul Maharaja Parikshit, constantly wrapped in thought of Lord Krishna, knowing well of his imminent death, renounced all sorts of fruitive activities, namely acts of religion, economic development, and sense gratification, and thus fixed himself firmly in the natural love for Krishna and asked all these questions exactly as you are asking me. The purport: the three activities of religion, economic development, and sense gratification are generally attractive for conditioned souls struggling for existence in the material world. Such regulated activities prescribed in the Vedas are called karma kandya, conception of life, and householders are generally recommended to follow the rules just to enjoy material propensity both in this life and the next. Most people are attracted by such activities. Even in the activities of their modern godless civilization, people are more concerned with economic development and sense gratification without any religious sentiments. As a great emperor of the world, Maharaja Parikshit had to observe such regulations of the Vedic Karma Kandya section, but by his slight association with Sukdev Goswami, he could perfectly understand that Lord Krishna, the Absolute Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva, for whom he had a natural love since his birth, is everything, and thus he fixed his mind firmly upon him, renouncing all modes of Vedic Karma Kandya activities. This perfectional stage is attained by a Jnani after many births. The Jnanis, or the empiric philosophers endeavoring for liberation, are thousands of times better than the fruitive workers, and out of hundreds of thousands of such Jnanis, one is liberated factually. And out of hundreds of thousands of such liberated persons, even one person is rarely found who can firmly fix his mind unto the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, as declared with the Lord himself in Bhagavad-gītā 7.19. Maharaja Parikshit is specially qualified with the words Mahamanaha, which puts him on equal level with the Mahatmas described in the Bhagavad-gītā. In the later stage also, there have been many Mahatmas of this type, and they also gave up all Karmakandya conception of life solely and wholly depending on the Supreme Person of Godhead Krishna. Lord Chaitanya, who is Lord Krishna himself, taught us in his Sanskrit, Ashrishava Padaratam, Pinastamam, Adarshana Marmahatam Karotava, Yatha Tathava Vidato Lampato, Mat Prananathasto Saibana Paraha. Lord Krishna, who is the lover of many devotees, may embrace this fully surrendered maidservant, or may trample me with his feet, or he may render me broken-hearted by not being present before me for a long duration of time. But still he is nothing less than the absolute Lord of my heart. Śrīla Rupa Goswami spoke thus: Virachascha mai dandam dinabandhu dayamiva gatirthana bhavataha kashidana mamasti nipanato satakuti nirvaramba nava ambaha tat api kila payodaha stuyate chatakena. O Lord of the poor, do what you like with me, give me either mercy or punishment. But in this world, I have none to look to except your lordship. The Chataka bird always prays for the cloud, regardless of whether it showers rain or throws a thunderbolt. Srila Madhavendra, the grand spiritual master of Lord Chaitanya, took leave of all karmakanda obligations in the following words. Chanda bandhana bhadramastu bhavato boha snana tubham nama bo devaha pitarasya tarpana vidho naham kasmaha kashyamyatam yatra kvapi nishada edava kudottamasya kamsa dvishaha smaram agham harami tad alam manye kim annena me. O my evening prayer, all good unto you. O my morning bath, I bid you goodbye. O demigods and forefathers, please excuse me. I am unable to perform any more offerings for your pleasure. Now I have decided to free myself from all the actions to scenes simply by remembering anywhere and everywhere the great descendants of Yadu and great enemy of Kamsa, Lord Krishna. I think that this is sufficient for me. So what is the use of further endeavors? Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, there is more also.
Okay. Mugdham mam nigantau niti nipona briyantam muhur vaidikaha mandam bandhava sanchaya yada dhiyam muktadaraha sudaraha.
I think you can skip the Sanskrit text.
Okay, Mataji, thank you. Let the sharp moralist accuse me of being illusion. I do not mind. Experts in Vedic activities may slander me as being misled. Friends and relatives may call me frustrated. My brothers may call me a fool. The old wealthy Maimonites may point me out as mad. And the learned philosophers may assert that I am much too proud. Still, my mind does not budge an inch from the determination to serve the lotus feet of Govinda, though I be unable to do it. And also Prahlad Maharaj said, I skip Mataji.
Yes.
Religion, economic development, and sense gratification are celebrated as three means of attaining the path of salvation. Of this, Iksha Trayati, especially, that is knowledge of the self, knowledge of fruitive acts and logic, and also politics and economics are different means of livelihood. All these are different subjects of Vedic education, and therefore I consider them temporary engagements. On the other hand, surrendering unto the Supreme Lord Vishnu is a factual gain in life, and I consider it the ultimate truth. Bhagavatam 7.6. The whole matter is concluded in Bhagavad-gītā 2.41 as Vivashyatmika Buddhi, or the absolute path of perfection. See, Baldeva Vidyabhusana, a great Vaishnava scholar, defines this as Bhagavad Archana Rupaika Nishkama Karmavir Vishuddha Chitta, accepting transcendental loving service to the Lord as the prime duty, free from fruitive reaction. So Maharaja Parikshit was perfectly right when he firmly accepted the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, renouncing all karma, kandya conception of life. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhu. Thank you. So in these two texts, actually, he's saying that we should have faith in hearing is the qualification for the practice of sadhana bhakti. Like in the 11th canto, 20th chapter, Krishna is saying to Uddhava in the 27th shloka and the 28th shloka is saying that Jata Shraddha Mat Kathasu Nirvana Sarva Karmeshu Veda Dukhatmana Kaman Parityage Apya Nirishwaraha Tato Bhajate Mam Priti Shraddha Lu Druda Nishchaya Jushmascha Tana Kaman Dukhodaraksha Grihan. Wait, let me just open only instead of I giving my own concoctions. Better is to, hear Prabhupada. To see where is that 20th. 28. Oh, I went to 22. Why did I go to 22? Yeah. So he's saying that Jata Shraddha Mat Kathasu. Having awakened faith in my narrations of my glories, being disgusted with all material activities, Nirvinna Sarva Karmeshu, knowing that all sense gratification leads to misery. Veda Dukkhatmakan Kaman. My devotee should remain happy and worship me with great faith and conviction. So, Parityage api Anishwaraha Tato Bhajate Mam Pritihi. My devotee knows that all sense gratification leads to a miserable result and he sincerely repents such activities. So, Shraddhalu Drida Nishchaya, with great determination, and Jushmanascha Tan Kaman. And then he's saying that Dukhodarascha Grihan. He knows that everything is, miserable, all this result is miserable. So, what he is saying that Krishna is telling to Uddhava about this faith. So the first qualification of faith is that he must have awakened faith in the narrations of my glories. So like starting from Shravanam, because when you start with Shravanam, then a person reaches from Agyat Sukruti to Shraddha, and when he appreciates everything or the Lord's devotee in connection to Krishna, then example like appreciating devotees because they are worshipping Krishna. So secondly, he does not think that apart from bhakti I have to perform anything else also. Means that just by practicing bhakti all other obligations are taken care of. So he's not obliged also to any one or any karma kanda things like performing some shrad or some birth ceremony, etc. So he's theoretically convinced that any endeavor for sense gratification, any endeavor for sense gratification will lead to a miserable result. Will be suffering only. He will be suffering only. So, if I'll say, for example, if I eat sweet in more quantity, then I know that I'm going to suffer. But still, I cannot avoid sense gratification. And sometimes he falls down. So, from a Vedi sadhaka, Krishna has a very realistic expectation. So, even in the second chapter, the Lord is addressed as Ishvara in order to relate to the Vedi sadhakas, whose only fear is that will I be able to control my senses and engage them in Krishna's service, these senses. So if he cannot control his senses, then what should he do then? He's saying, don't worry, happily worship me. So happily continue to worship me with great faith in the process. And that is the process, and that process will, purify. So I don't need to take shelter of any other processes. First purify and then take up to bhakti. Just by a practice of bhakti, I can get purified with full determination. And then one must apply this, to practice of bhakti, even if one may fall down. Somebody falls down, still gets up, he still practices. So get up, fall down, again fall down, and then when he gets up with greater determination also. Again, he applies to that process. So all the time when he's falling down, if he's not able to live up to that standard, he is very regretful. So see, he sincerely repents all such activities. He's regretful, but he happily engages in service of Krishna with full determination and faith in the process. So this is like a full-fledged definition of Vedi sadhana that Krishna gives to Uddhava in these two texts actually, and in Uddhav Gita. So if you see, if you reflect actually, if you see that if he has awakened faith in the process of bhakti, starting with hearing, Jat Shraddha. This is Jat, the one who has awakened Shraddha or a faith. Mat Kathasu, inward in my, in my glories. And then he's saying that Nirvishesha Sarva Karmeshu, he's disgusted with all, prescribed duties. And any endeavor for sense gratification will eventually lead him for suffering. So, he's always able to give up, sense gratification. And he's even if he's unable to give up sense gratification, he's sincerely repenting for engaging in, such activities or such acts that he's doing. So, Krishna, in over here only he is saying, tata bhajate mam paritah. He's saying that he remains happy in worshipping me with great faith and conviction, and he does not give up this process. So what is happening with this sadhaka? With this sadhaka, his faith is condensing more and more. It condenses more and more. So, where he is saying that, if you see in this sloka also, we go to the top, he's saying that, Krishnanu bhava shravane, shraddha dhano mahamana. So he had a very, he has a very great faith and absolute faith in this process of hearing Krishna Katha from Shukdev Goswami. So this is not just an initial qualification when, we progress in bhakti. One need not have this. Any initial qualification mentioned for bhakti, he's saying that it condenses more and more. So the faith also will condense more and more, and he will progress more further. And if faith in hearing the pastimes of Lord Krishna, when he is reaching till that bhava level, then he becomes more condensed. It becomes asakti. It becomes, a complete attachment to the Supreme Lord. And it condenses more and more. And, this is a very reliable symptom of bhava. And what is the reliable symptom? That he has more taste for doing Shravanam and Kirtanam. So if you see the yoga ladder, that I hope I have this writing thing over here. I don't know how much I'll be able to write, but let me see. So if you see the yoga ladder, that you have some Shraddha. Okay. That little Shraddha, when it is, you have that Shraddha, then you do Sadhu Sangha. Okay. And then Sadhu Sangha will take you to Bhajan Kriya. And because you're doing some Bhajan Kriya, eventually what is happening? Anartha Nivritti is happening. Okay. And after this Anartha Nivritti stage, okay, why all this is happening? Because Bhajan Kriya is going very strong. This thing is going very strong. That is why Anartha Nivritti is also going very strong. Okay, all the anarthas are cleared up. And then you are having Nishtha. Okay, you have Nishtha. Now what happens is, because you have faith, okay, because you have faith in Krishna, and because you have a lot of faith, and above Nishtha also, then you have Ruchi and Asakti and Bhav and all that, stages go. So above Nishtha, then you will have Ruchi. Then because you have Ruchi, then you have Asakti. Sorry, I'm just Asakti. Then you have Bhav. And then above Bhav, you have Prema level. Okay. Now, what is happening? If you see, you have Nishtha. Okay. You are at this particular point towards Nishtha. So when you are again hearing and you're doing Shravanam, Kirtanam, then you have some taste, then this Nishtha becomes strong. When this Nishtha becomes strong, you reach to the Ruchi level. Then you have great taste for again hearing. Again, you condense Ruchi also. So then that Ruchi goes into Asakti, strong attachment to Krishna, strong attachment for hearing, strong attachment for the association of Krishna. And this also condenses. Then you have this, you come to this, Bhava. Great taste for, again, taste for hearing about the activities and qualities of the holy name, from the Supreme Personality. So these initial symptoms are not just initial symptoms. These initial symptoms become more and more condensed when one is progressing in bhakti, especially in the Vedi sadhana bhakti. So this becomes more and more, praghad, or you can say aghad, or more, condensed form mein. And it's not like that, if you have ruchi, your nishtha is lost. No, you maintain with nishtha also, your anarthas are also cleared. And it's not like that, that even if you've reached till, asakti or bhav, you still are having some anarthas. No, you have nullified and you reach over here. You have nullified and you reach over here. And this way, you reach to a very, level of prema. And in prema, the love is so very strong that, the highest prema is that Srimati Radharani has that love for Krishna. Okay, so when Radharani is having love for Krishna, then her love is also, condensed again into Madanakhya Bhav, Modanakhya Bhav, and Mahabhav. Finally, Prema also has, like 3 stages as such. And that's how, it condenses. So, when he's saying that samsthatam vigyanam sannyasa, when he's saying this, he's saying that you please understand that that death has come now near to me, and I have to give up all, this, trivargikam. I have to give up all this karma. Means I have to give up dharma, artha, kama. And he gives up all those activities. And then he's saying that Vasudeva Bhagavati Atma Bhavam Dridam Gata, he becomes very firmly fixed in prema to Krishna. So this seems little, contradictory here. You can say that this second line says that Vasudeva Bhavati Atma Bhava Dridgata. So this line is actually indicating that he was qualified for bhakti. It is mentioned that he was performing prema level. So the first line only it says that prapaja chenam advartam. So it says that sannyasa, already, trivargika karma. He gave up performing dharma, artha, kama, moksha. So this is a bit confusing because sometimes shastras, do mention that what is real, piety or engaging in activities according to one's own position. So, no, that activity that is, inherently pious or impious, it depends on who is performing that particular activity. So, if one is a qualified for bhakti, but if he performs, varnashrama, it can be an impious activity, especially if that activity of varnashrama is in conflict with bhakti. So, for example, Shraddha. So, there are many Varnashram activities which are not in conflict with Bhakti. I wanted to ask you all that, is there some noise coming from my house? You'll hear some noise?
No, Mataji.
Okay. Okay, one of my neighbor's kid, he's playing that ball and they stay just above me. So, I was thinking if it is disturbing, I can just request them. So, then he's saying that there are many varnashrama, activities which, like taking a bath. It's not one of the 9 limbs of bhakti, but it's not an unfavorable or, conflicting with the principles bhakti because it is very much favorable. Why you take bath 3 times in a day? Why do the brahmanas take bath 3 times in a day? The moment a person takes a bath, when the water reaches the shoulders immediately, or you pour a mug of water on the shoulders, immediately all the mode of ignorance washes away with the water, and the person is re-situated in the mode of goodness, and he is able to chant very nicely in the morning, or maybe in this evening also when we are doing our Sandhya Gayatri, or in the afternoon also the afternoon Gayatri. You have bath, even if you're in a mode of ignorance, you've come from outside, there is some, so much of impurity you get into the house, but the moment you have a bath, immediately you come in the mode of goodness. So, one need not give up those activities of varnashrama which are not in conflict with the principles of bhakti. But when they are in direct conflict with the principles of bhakti, then a person who is qualified for bhakti should give up the varnashrama duties that which is conflicting, and one should continue to perform only the limbs of bhakti, that is Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam. So Krishna says that real piety is practicing that which is qualified for. So if one is qualified for karma, if one has not yet gained that qualification of bhakti, then one should not prematurely give up their prescribed duties. Even in the third chapter of the Bhagavad-gītā, Krishna is not asking Arjuna to give up his Kshatriya duty. He's saying that you're a Kshatriya, you fight, because fighting is your actually duty as a Kshatriya, and take up to the practice of bhakti. So therefore he does not have because he does not have faith in bhakti, yet he has not gained the bhakti adhikar, you can say. So it's just a question of time, and after 2-3 days or 2 weeks, 3 months, he will eventually give up that, and he has already given up this varnashram dharma for taking up to bhakti. So now he will now he is actually left outside the Vedic fold, and neither he is practicing bhakti nor the varnashrama dharma, you can say. So because if someone who is qualified for karma, he should not prematurely give up what is qualified and take up to bhakti also. So he must simultaneously practice bhakti but not give up his prescribed duty. So Krishna tells to Uddhava in another verse. I'll have to just stop this screen and I think it is the, sorry, it is the, I beg apologies. I think it is the 9th verse, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Tavat karmani purvita na virdeta yavat mat katha shravana va shraddha yavan jayate. A very, very wonderful shlok. He's saying that till the time, as long as one is not satiated by fruitive activity and has not awakened his taste for loving devotional service by Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu, one has to act according to the regulative principles of the Vedic injunctions. So, he's saying that till the time, till that time that faith in hearing my pastimes and other limbs of devotional service has not dawned in the heart of a person, he must not prematurely give up his prescribed duties and just take up to fully fledged devotional service. Because it's just a question of time that he will be, out of his practice of both bhakti also and varnashrama also. So he's left shelterless. Varnashrama is a shelter for practicing bhakti, till the time he is not perfected. So in this shloka, Krishna is saying that steadiness is, when you're steady in your own position, and he's saying that this is actually real piety. Because if you see, there is an example of this, there was a Brahmana who was guided by a very chaste lady to go to Varanasi to take, lessons about dharma from a butcher named Dharmavyada. So what is piety and what is impiety depends on who is performing it. So for a butcher, killing animals is not an impious activity. But when a Brahmana does it, it is impious. For a person who is qualified for bhakti, he may perform prescribed duties. But if that prescribed duty is in conflict with his bhakti, engagement, then that practice of swadharma is actually an impious activity and not a very pious activity. So the activity itself is not a pious activity or a impious activity, but it depends on the qualification, on who is performing it, what is his qualification. So Krishna is saying in this shloka, he's saying that steadiness is in one's own prescribed duty is actual piety. And that is why he's saying that he's saying in this, very second shloka only he's saying over here. So, this is one of my favorite cantos, and this conversation between Uddhava and Shri Krishna, I just love this. I keep on reading it again and again. So he's saying that this is not that shloka. I feel it is 21st shloka. See over here. स्वे से अधिकारी या निष्ठा सगुणे परिकीर्तिते है विपरेस्तु दोष स्वाय दु भयोरेश निश्चय. He says that steadiness in one's own position is declared to be actual piety, whereas deviation from one's own position is considered to be impiety. In this way, the two are differently ascertained. So he's not defining activity in terms of an activity. He's defining it in terms of qualification of that person who performs that activity, decides whether that activity is pious or impious, the activity itself is not, this. So if a Brahmana is killing, it's pious. It's impious. And if a Kshatriya kills on the battlefield, it is a pious activity. Why? Because if he does not kill, then it is an impious activity. And if you know, Krishna also chastised Arjuna, that it will be as equal as, infamy. So even in Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, Srila Rupa Goswami says to establish the qualification of devotional service. For the person qualified for pure bhakti, performance of actions or karma or jnana and failure to perform bhakti, both are faults. So if he is on a higher qualification, if he does something lower than his qualification, then it is an impious activity. So Parikshit Maharaj gave up, in this particular shloka, in this fourth shloka, Parikshit Maharaj is giving up, and which means before giving up also he was practicing. He was practicing all this, he was very much practicing everything before even giving up, So if he was qualified for bhakti, then why was he doing dharma, artha, kama? Isn't it an, impious activity, for, and, definition of this is only then it is an impious activity. So if his adhikar was bhakti, why was he, why was he practicing Traivargikam, Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha? So it is described in one of the cantos, which is that canto, even I forget now where I read. Okay, it is described that the pastimes, it's in the fifth canto. It is described that in the pastimes of Bharat Maharaj, every day, or even in that matter, if you see in Amrish Maharaj's life, or even if you see in Prithu Maharaj's life, all these great souls, they were Raja Rishis, who were very clearly, whose adhikar was bhakti. But they would very scrutinizingly perform all the kingly activities, all the sacrifices, karma kanda, sacrifices for getting rain, etc. If you see, Prithu Maharaj also is Palan Shakti, Shaktivesh avatar of the Supreme Lord. So then one may say, if you perform all these karma kanda activities, then you are going to get the pious credit for it. And if it is improperly performed, you are going to get impious credit for it. So how one who is qualified for bhakti, why he should practice all these other karma kandas or karmas? Especially, any kamya karma should never be performed by anyone who is qualified for pure bhakti. So kamya karma means actually that which is done in order to achieve some material goal. Like example, Dashrath Maharaj did Putra Kameshti Yagya. Is there performing some yagya to get, putra or get some rain, that is, kamya karma. So for a person who is qualified for devotional service, and, kamya karma principles are always against the principles of bhakti. And by nature, bhakti is, anya bilashita shunyam jnana karmanamritam. So here Parikshit Maharaj, who is actually performing this kamya karma, one may ask, isn't this an impious act? So, in Bharat Maharaj's, one of that purport, where he was also performing all these yagyas, but what was his mood of performing his yagyas, that is also mentioned in that canto, that he would personally not perform those yagyas. There was a provision, you can nominate a proxy. You can say that a hotru, and that the, not hotru, it is called the Advairyu. The Advairyu priest could perform that yagya, and he could develop, as an Advairyu priest. And then this Yajman, as a representative of this Yajman. So Parikshit Maharaj himself was engaging in Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, and simultaneously under his name, the yajna was going on. So by that, what is he, accomplishing? He is setting the right example for his, citizens or his subjects. And because in all probability, Krishna says that Manushyanam Sahasresh, so out of thousands, only one will take up to devotional service. So statistically also in any kingdom, at least 90% population would not qualify for pure devotional service. So therefore, they must not prematurely give up their prescribed duties also. So if the king himself is seen to give up his prescribed duties, his subjects will also give up. So in order to set up right examples, he was performing these duties, but not personally. Also, Amrish Maharaj also, was doing the same thing. What was Amrish Maharaj doing? He was engaging every of his senses in the service of the Lord. And Krishna also says in the Bhagavad-gītā, Karmannevi samsiddhim ashtika janakadayah. So, Loka Sangram, even, kings like Janak Maharaj and all also, they will also, they were, qualified for pure devotional service, but they still would continue to perform their prescribed duties, Loka Sangram Eva, for the purpose of setting the right example for his subject. So they don't prematurely give up. So what are they qualified for while is karma? So two things they are qualified for karma. One is he would not be personally present. Secondly is to set up a right example. So either it is Bharat Maharaj or Amrish Maharaj or Prahlad Maharaj or Parikshit Maharaj, none of them felt that by performing this yajna I am progressing in my bhakti. Very important. Nobody felt that when I am doing this yajna, I am actually progressing in my bhakti. They had no faith in these yajnas. And Krishna says, in the 17th chapter only of the Bhagavad-gītā, he says that ashraddhaya hutam dattam tapastapam kritam cha yat asad hi uchyate partha na cha tat pretaya na iha. He says that any sacrifice or tapasya without faith in that practice, it is as good as not doing that process. So asad iti uchyate. Why? Na cha tad pretaya na iha, because it will not give any fruit in this life or in the next life. So Parikshit Maharaj was performing those yajnas with no faith in them. Then by properly performing that yajna externally, he will not get any prize credit for it because he has no shraddha. And by improper performance of it, he will not get any impious credit also. So therefore, he has no faith, and because it is, ashraddhaya hatum dattam. So therefore, for these, 3 to 4 reasons that I mentioned, who are responsible for their subjects continue to perform their Traivargik karma, dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. This is what is being said in this 3rd and 4th shloka. I'm very sorry, I took a very long time to explain, but it is very important that we understand that if great souls are also performing their prescribed duties, so we should also perform our prescribed duties as parents, as mothers, as husbands, as daughter-in-laws, as son-in-laws. We should be performing our prescribed duties, but at the same time, we should respect our elders also. If they say, okay, some shraddha has to be performed, we should perform, but we should not have faith in them. We should have faith in what? We should have faith in the chanting of the holy names. Okay. Rajo vacho samichina vacho brahman sarvagnaksya tavagna tamo vishiryate maha harer kathayata kathamaha. Translation. Rupa Mataji, please read the translation and purport both.
Hare Krishna. Translation. Maharaja Parikshit said, O learned Brahmana, you know everything because you are without material contamination. Therefore, whatever you have spoken to me appears perfectly right. Your speeches are gradually destroying the darkness of my ignorance, for you are narrating the topics of the Lord. Purport. The practical experience of Maharaja Parikshit is disclosed herein, revealing that transcendental topics of the Lord act like injections when received by the sincere devotee from a person who is perfectly uncontaminated by material tinges. In other words, reception of the messages of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam from professional man heard by a karma kandiya audience never acts miraculously as stated here. Devotional hearing of the messages of the Lord is not like hearing ordinary topics. Therefore, the action will be felt by the sincere hearer by experience of the gradual disappearance of ignorance.
Yeah, automatically he will realize that,
Yashya deve para bhaktir yata deve tata gurau tasyaite katita he artaha prakashante mahatmanaha. Sveta Vastara Upanishad 6.23. When a hungry man is given food to eat, he feels satiation of hunger and the pleasure of dining simultaneously. Thus, he does not have to ask whether he has actually been fed or not. The crucial test of hearing Śrīmad Bhāgavatam is that one should get positive enlightenment by such an act. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, see, we all are hearing Bhagavatam. So, what is the test of hearing this Bhagavatam? That one should get positive enlightenment by such an act. We all, 10, 12 people are meeting every day on a daily basis. But every day when we are reading, there is some enlightenment. Our lives have changed after reading Bhagavatam, and our faith has increased more and more. Let's go to the next sloka. भूय एव विवित्सामि भगवान् आत्ममायया यथेदं सृजते विश्वं दुर्विभाव्यम् धीरीश्वरे. Anuprabhu, please read the translation and purport both.
Translation. I beg to know from you how the personality of Godhead, by his personal energies, creates these phenomenal universes as they are, which are inconceivable even to the great demigods. Purport. In every inquisitive mind, the important question of the creation of the phenomenal world arises. And therefore, for a personality like Maharaj Parikshit, who was to know all the activities of the Lord from his spiritual master, such an inquiry is not uncommon. For every unknown thing, we have to learn and inquire from a learned personality. The question of creation is also one of such inquiries to be made to the right person. The spiritual master, therefore, must be one who is Sarvagna, as stated herein before in connection with Shukadeva Goswami. Thus, all inquiries on God which are unknown to the disciple may be made from the qualified spiritual master. And here the practical example is set by Maharaj Parikshit. It was ever already known to Maharaj Parikshit that everything we see is born out of the energy of the Lord, as we have all learned in the very beginning of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Janmani Asya Yata. So, Maharaj Parikshit wanted to know the process of creation. The origin of creation was known to him. Otherwise, he would not have inquired how the Supreme Person, how the personality of Godhead, by different energies, creates this phenomenal world. The common man also knows that the creation is made by some creator and is not created automatically. We have no experience in the practical world that a thing is created automatically. Foolish people say that the creative energy is independent and acts automatically, as electrical energy works. But the intelligent man knows that even the electrical energy generated by an expert engineer in the localized powerhouse, and thus the energy is distributed everywhere under the resident engineer's supervision. The Lord's supervision in connection with creation is mentioned even in Bhagavad-gītā 9.10, and it is clearly said there that material energy is a manifestation of one of many such energies of the Supreme. Parasya Shaktir Vividheva Shriyate. An inexperienced boy may be struck with wonder by seeing the impersonal actions of electronics or many other wonderful things conducted by electrical energy. But an experienced man knows that behind the action is a living man who creates such energy. Similarly, the so-called scholars and philosophers of the world may, by mental speculation, present so many utopian theories about the impersonal creation of the universe, but an intelligent devotee to the Lord, by studying the Bhagavad-gītā, can know that behind the creation is the hand of the Supreme Lord, just as in the generating electrical powerhouse there is a resident engineer. The research scholar finds out the cause and the effect of everything, but research scholars as great as Brahma, Shiva, Indra, and many other demigods are sometimes bewildered by seeing the wonderful creative energy of the Lord. So what to speak of the tiny mundane scholars dealing in petty things? As there are differences in the living conditions of different planets of the universe, and as one planet is superior to others, the brains of the living entities in those respective planets are also different categorical values. As stated in the Bhagavad-gītā, one can compare the long duration of life of the inhabitants of Brahma's planet, which is inconceivable to the inhabitants of this planet Earth, to the categorical value of the brain of Brahmaji, also inconceivable to any scientist of this planet, and with such high brain power, even Brahmaji has described in his great Samhita, Brahma Samhita 5.1 as follows: Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha Anadi Adir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. There are many personalities possessing the qualities of Bhagavan, but Kṛṣṇa is the supreme because none can excel him. He is a supreme person and his body is external, full of knowledge and bliss. He is the primeval Lord Govinda and the cause of all causes. Brahmaji admits Lord Kṛṣṇa to be the supreme cause of all causes, but persons with tiny brains within this petty planet Earth think of the Lord as one of them. Thus, when the Lord says in the Bhagavad-gītā that he, Lord Kṛṣṇa, is all in all, the speculative philosophers and the mundane wranglers deride him, and the Lord regretfully says, Avajananti mam mudha manushim tanum ashritam param bhavam ajananto mam bhuta maheshwaram. Fools deride me when I descend in the human form. They do not know my transcendental nature and my supreme dominion over all that be. Bhagavad-gītā 9.11. Brahma and Shiva, and what to speak of other demigods, are bhutas or powerful created demigods who manage universal affairs, much like ministers appointed by a king. The ministers may be Ishvaras or controllers, but the Supreme Lord is Maheshwar or the creator of the controllers. Persons with the poor fund of knowledge do not know this, and therefore they have the audacity to deride him because he comes before us by his cautious mercy, occasionally as a human being. The Lord is not like a human being. He is Sachidananda Vigraha, or the absolute personality of Godhead. And there is no difference between his body and his soul. He is both the power and the powerful. Maharaj Parikshit did not ask his spiritual master.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. I want to give chance to Vrinda. Sorry. Yeah, I'll just give chance to Vrinda also. Thank
Maharaj Parikshit did not ask his spiritual master Sukadeva Goswami to narrate Lord Krishna's pastime in Vrindavana. He wanted to hear first about the creation of the Lord. Sukadeva Goswami did not say that the king should hear about the direct transcendental pastimes of the Lord. The time was very short, and naturally, Sukadeva Goswami could have gone directly to the 10th canto to make a shortcut of the whole thing, as generally done by the professional reciters. But neither the king nor the great speaker of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam jumped up like the organizers of Bhagavatam. Both of them proceeded systematically so that both future readers and hearers might take lessons from the examples of the procedure of reciting Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Those who are under the control of the external energy of the Lord, or in other words, those who are in the material world, must first of all know how the external energy of the Lord is working under the direction of the Supreme Personality. And afterwards, one may try to enter into the activities of his internal energy. The mundaners are mostly worshippers of Durga Devi, the external energy of Kṛṣṇa, but they do not know that Durga Devi is but the shadow energy of the Lord. Behind her astonishing display of material workings is the direction of the Lord, as confirmed in the Bhagavad-gītā 9.10. The Brahma Samhita affirms that Durga Shakti is working by the direction of Govinda, and without his sanction, the powerful Durga Shakti cannot move even a blade of grass. Therefore, the neophyte devotee, instead of jumping at once to the platform of transcendental pastimes, presented by the internal energy of the Lord, may know how great the Supreme Lord is by inquiring about the process of his creative energy. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita also, descriptions of the creative energy and the Lord's hand in it are explained, and the author of Chaitanya Charitamrita has warned the neophyte devotees to be seriously on guard against the pitfall of neglecting knowledge about Krishna in regard to how great he is. Only when one knows Lord Krishna's greatness can one firmly put one's unflinching faith in him. Otherwise, like the common man, even the great leaders of the men will mistake Lord Krishna for one of the many demigods or a historical personality or a myth only. The transcendental pastimes of the Lord in Vrindavana or even at Dwarika are relishable for persons who have already qualified themselves in advanced spiritual techniques, and the common man may be able to attain to such a plane by the gradual process of service and inquiries, as we shall see in the behavior of Maharaj Parikshit. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Vrinda. See, in this very first paragraph, where he's saying that, Maharaj Parikshit actually already known to Maharaj Parikshit that everything we see is born out of the energy of Lord, as we have all learned in the very beginning. So, Parikshit Maharaj wanted to know the process of creation. The origin of creation was already known to him. Otherwise, he would not have inquired only. So, he just wanted to know about the process of creation actually. He had, he had no doubt about the creation. He's not asking who created, but he's asking how did the Supreme Personality of Godhead create this universe? That doubt, he had. And, further, if you see in this purport, it is written that hearing, creates unflinching faith. So every word in this Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is a golden word. Every word is a golden word, and every word, anybody reading, whether you understand, you don't understand, still if you're reading, you get purified. We just go to the next. Yatha gopayati vibhur. Sorry. Yatha gopayati vibhur yatha samyachate puna yam yam saktim upashrityaya Puru Shakti Parapuman Atmanam Kridan Karoti Vikaroti Cha. Pringa, please read this translation and purport both.
Translation. Kindly describe how the Supreme Lord, who is all-powerful, engages his different energies and different expansions in maintaining and again winding up the phenomenal world in the sporting spirit of a player. Purport. In the Katha Upanishad 2.2.13, the Supreme Lord is described as the chief eternal being amongst all other eternal individual beings, Nityo Nityanam Chetanash Chetananam, and the one Supreme Lord who maintains innumerable other individual living beings, Eko Bahunam Yo Vidadhati Kaman. So all living entities, both in the conditioned state and in the liberal state, are maintained by the Almighty Supreme Lord. Such maintenance is effected by the Lord through his different expansions of self and three principal energies, namely the internal, external, and marginal energies. The living entities are his marginal energies, and some of them, in the confidence of the Lord, are entrusted with the work of creation also, as are Brahma, Marichi, etc., and the acts of creation are inspired by the Lord unto them. Tene Brahma Hridaya. The external energy, which is Maya, is also impregnated with the Jivas, or conditioned souls. The unconditioned marginal potency acts in the spiritual kingdom, and the Lord, by his different plenary expansions, maintains them in different transcendental relations displayed in the spiritual sky. So the one Supreme Personality of Godhead manifests himself in many Bahushyam, and thus all diversities are in him, and he is in all diversities, although he is nevertheless different from all of them. That is the inconceivable mystic power of the Lord, and as such, everything is simultaneously one with and different from him by his inconceivable potencies. Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva.
Yeah,
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
thank you so much. So, Hare Krishna, dear devotees, we will halt over here and we'll meet tomorrow and we'll continue from shloka number 8. Thank you so much for joining. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Dandot Pranam.
Thank you.
Dhanwad, dhanwad.